Greetings, adventurers. In this video, we're going to be painting this small cottage from our Act 1 mini expansion. The cottage has a removable roof, removable walls, a swinging door, and a fireplace. When the roof and walls are removed, the JWS style foundation makes viewing gameplay fun and maintains the thematic design. To help with navigation of this video, see the chapter links in the description below. Let's get started. First thing we're going to do is we're going to clean this piece. And to clean it, we're going to use a lighter. Let's melt away any of the little strings, wispy type things that are left behind from the 3D printer nozzle. And just a reminder, you don't want to hold the lighter in one place too long, as it will definitely melt your PLA and warp the build. So let's do that now. Now that that's done, let's paint the foundation. The foundation is going to use two colors mixed together. We're going to use gray and we're going to use a blue. Let's put a nice portion of gray down, and now let's add some blue. Let's mix that together. Now let's go ahead and paint the foundation and the fireplace. If you prefer, you could have did a dry brush instead of the full paint. And that would have left black in between the cracks, which would have looked great for shadowing. However, a little bit later on, we're going to be applying a wash, so it'll darken up the crevices and cracks. But if you want to do that, feel free to do it. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now let's move on to taking some cardboard paint color. And what we're going to do is we're going to pick out some stones in the foundation and in the fireplace. And we're going to start painting those in. And this will give us a nice variation in the foundation. So let's get started with that now. And when you do some of the stones that are on the top row, make sure you go back around and do over the edge so it matches through and through. And now go ahead and take a look at your piece and, double check to make sure if you need a couple more stones painted in. All right, let's see which stones we need to paint on the inside here. Now, when it comes to painting the chimney, what we'd recommend doing is stacking the upper chimney roof section on top of the base foundation section, just so you can kind of get an idea which stones to paint. And the reason why is if you paint too many stones where the two pieces touch, it can look like a line of, cardboard color stones. So this helps get you some variation and get you an idea how to transition from the lower section to the upper section. Okay, let's take a look at this. And we have a nice transition from the lower half chimney to the upper half of the chimney. It looks pretty good. Let's also check the foundation. All right, and it looks pretty good. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to highlighting the foundation and the chimney. To do this, we're going to go ahead and use Stone Edge dry brush. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to dry brush the chimney. And we're going to try to dry brush the upper chimney and the lower chimney at the same time. This way the highlighting on the upper and the lower chimney will closely match. One of the things that could happen is if let's just say you did the lower chimney first, and then you went and did all the foundation of the whole piece. By the time you come back to do the upper chimney, your brush is going to be having a lot less paint on it, and there's a good chance that it won't be consistent looking with the lower half. So for blending purposes, this is what we found to be the best method. And now we're going to go ahead and do the inside foundation. And here you're actually going to hit the floor quite a bit, and that's totally fine. In fact, it'll help give nice variation to the wood floors when we actually start putting in the brown color of the wood floors. So that's fine. Okay, so let's take a look at that. And that highlight really starts to show the texture that we put into each of the stones. And now let's go ahead and work on painting the wood beams and the doors. For this, we're going to go ahead and use base wood. So there's two ways to do this. You can use the dry brush method, or you can just do the full paint method. At first, I start off using the dry brush method, and then I remembered that I was going to be doing a wash on this thing. So I go through and actually do a nice heavy coat, at least across the door and some of the pieces. So just keep that in mind. We're going to be using a wash, and we'll be bringing a lot of the detail back in the wood beams and in the door. Also, we're going to be highlighting. So we're going to do a highlight, and then we're also going to do a wash. So we're going to be getting a nice dynamic range of color here. Now when you're doing the door frames, it's best to not hit the foundation with brown, or at least too much brown. We are going to go over it with a wash, so it could kind of hide that color if you did hit it with the brown. Also, thing to note is you may ultimately, after the wash, decide that you want to re-highlight, and that's fine too. So you could probably mask a little bit of that brown, but in our opinion, it's best to not get the brown from the door frames onto the stones, onto the foundation. Now let's move on to painting the floor. First thing we're going to do is we're going to clean the floor from any debris that might have been left behind from the previous painting sections. And what we're going to go ahead and do is clean up the floor and remove any bristles that might have been left behind from dry brushing the foundation. Now we're going to take some of that same brown paint and do a wet brush across the floor. We're going to try to go not with the grains, but across the grains. And we're going to try to use different levels of pressure and different amounts of paint. This way we get some nice variation of color in the floor. And let's not forget to paint the threshold to the doorway. Now that the floor and doorposts are done, let's go ahead and take our walls and paint in the wood posts and beams there. When it comes to the walls, you actually could paint the stucco color first. Something to consider, if you painted the stucco walls first, the stucco color first, what will happen is when you go to do the highlighting, you could actually get that, brown highlighting on the stucco walls. And, that might look good. If you prefer to do that method, that's totally fine. Obviously, there's more than one way to paint. We just wanted to share with you why we chose this method. And now let's do the lintel. The lintel has both stucco and wood, so let's paint the wood area and come back and do the stucco area later. Okay, that's looking pretty good. And now let's go ahead and drop the door into the door frame. And there we go, perfect. Okay, let's move along and paint the beams on the roof. Let's go ahead and paint the circular vent. And let's also get the edges of the roof and the inside. With a detail brush, let's go ahead and paint the inside roof vent. We're also going to go back to the outside roof vent and we're going to use the detail brush there. And let's get some nice clean lines on that. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now what we're going to do is highlight the wood beams and door. For this, we're going to need 3 colors. We're going to get stucco, earthstone, and base wood. To do this, we're going to mix the paint, and then we're going to dry brush the highlight onto the wood beams and door. Okay, so let's start with the highlighting of the wood beams into the walls. And as you're noticing here, as we're going through the walls, you can see where that highlight would have been splashing onto the stucco paint had we had painted stucco first. So this is a good example of why we're going to do the stucco paint after. Now let's get the lintel, the door, and the door frames. Also, we're going to use this highlight color on the floor and the roof. Alright, now let's paint the stucco walls. To do this, we're going to need stucco, stone edge dry brush, and lava yellow. Now let's take these 3 colors and mix them together. Alright, so once you're done mixing it up, go ahead and apply some to the wall. And if it doesn't look right, the right color, go ahead and just add some more of whatever color you think it needs. and give it a mix. Here's a tip, you don't have to actually mix the three colors completely together. If the colors aren't perfectly mixed, what it will do is it'll create an effect that, this is some weathered paint. If it's real even, it'll look like, it's track home just got done being painted versus something that's been around for a while. It's up to you how much or how little you want to do with that technique. Okay, let's work on the roof area. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the big brush that we used on the walls, and then you're going to grab a detail brush so that you can make nice clean lines. And let's also make sure we get the inside of the roof. Now let's paint the stucco part of the lintel. We're getting ready to paint the roof, and before painting the roof, we're going to have to mask off the chimney. So let's do that now. Now that we finished masking off the chimney, let's paint the roof. To do this, we're going to use base wood and earthstone. We're going to mix these two paints together, and then we're actually going to use like a wet dry brush technique. So let's do that now. Now that that's done, let's dry brush some base gray over that last color. For this, you don't even have to clean your brush. And now for the final color, let's grab Cavern dry brush, put some out. Now let's dry brush this over the previous two colors. That's looking pretty good. Nice variation of color. Let's remove off the masking tape and take a look at it. That looks really good. Now let's apply a wash. The wash is going to age the cottage and bring out the fantasy feel. For this, we're going to mix black, earthstone, and water. Keep adding earthstone paint until you get the wash color you're looking for. Apply a liberal amount of wash and now remove it with a napkin. The wash should pool up along the corners and cracks and the low spots. Also, the stucco paint should kind of suck up some of the wash and quickly age your cottage. Let's also get the underside of the roof. Okay, let's do the walls, and go ahead and keep doing this process until you have all the walls done. Should look something like this. Okay, so now let's do the foundation. We're not going to wash the entire wooden floor. That being said, when you're applying the wash to the inside foundation, you're going to get some wash on the wooden floor. As long as it's not too much, you might want to leave it. This will create a really nice variation in the floor color. And we'll go ahead and do a wash on the door, and we're coming to a close on this section. The door installation is pretty easy. Simply slot the door into the lintel, and with the two pieces in your hand, slide them into the door slot on the foundation. To glue the lintel in place, we are going to use a clear gel type glue, and we're going to just add 2 small beads, one to each side of the lintel, like this. Quick note on glue: when it comes to PLA, we found if we didn't use a thick gel type glue, our PLA pieces wouldn't stay together as well as we liked. This is why, at the time of recording this video, we recommend a gel type glue. After we used the wash, it toned down the highlights on the chimney and stone foundation. This is perfect because it gives us a nice tonal range of the highlights. Now we are going to dry brush over those areas. You can either use cavern dry brush or stone edge dry brush. We're going to very lightly use the stone edge dry brush color. This cottage is ready for the table. It's completely playable and it looks great. The following chapters are optional. We're going to show you how to make your cottage go from great looking to amazing looking. So let's get started. In this chapter, we're going to add a grass type flock to the roof. For this, we need a clear gel type glue, static grass flock, and some Q-tips. First, apply a generous portion of gel glue to the roof peak and in random areas of both sides of the roof line. Use your Q-tip to push the glue around so it's not too thick. You don't want to cover the whole roof with glue. It's not like you're frosting a birthday cake. Instead, leave spots open so you can see between the grass flock. This will create a nice variety of texture in the roof line. These look amazing. In this next optional upgrade, we will be adding vines to the walls. We picked up some of this foliage from our local grass store. I don't remember exactly, but it might have been found in the floral department. What we're going to do is unravel sections of it and add one vine at a time or clusters of them. So let's do that now. After you have a pile of the vines, drop one piece into the glue. You really want to make sure that the vines get plenty of glue, otherwise it's harder to bend them into place. The first ones we used here could have used a bit more glue. Shortly after the ones that we do here, we started using much more glue, and it really makes a big difference. Keep adding vines as you see fit. Also add vines onto the foundation so it gives the illusion that it's climbing up the foundation across the walls as it makes its way up into the roof. Every once in a while, pull the walls out of the foundation just to make sure they don't get glued together. If you accidentally position a vine in such a way that it crosses over 2 walls, just grab an X-Acto knife, and when the vines are dry or even wet, you can cut the vine in between the 2 walls, and it will look great. One of the things you can also do is have the vines climb up the wall and across a window. You can even have it climb up the door frame and across the lintel. All these are really creative ideas, and there's so many possibilities. Have fun with it. Alright, so let's continue to do this on all the walls of the cottage, and before you know it, it will be done. Yeah, that's looking really good. So now you can see we're definitely using a lot more glue, and it's making it much more easier to position the vines. Also, if you can glue a portion of the vine down and have the other portion like flying away from the wall or peeling away from the wall, that will give it some really nice dimensionality, and it looks very fantasy. Yeah, this is looking really good. And look how the foundation vines climb right into the walls, and yet you can pull the walls right out and everything still lines back up. And that looks perfect. For the tools, you can use dental tools or T-push pins. We used both during this project, but found ourselves using the T-push pins on all the other cottages we made. Not sure why, but it was a little bit easier. Okay, that's looking pretty good. And let's go to the front here where the glue is dried, and you can see it looks amazing. And now let's continue on the other walls. It's looking pretty good. We're almost there. And now let's work the chimney area. We're going to go from the foundation corners into the chimney, and we're going to work our way up the chimney. And then we're going to grab our roof that has the upper chimney and line up the vines from the lower half to the upper half. In this optional upgrade, we're going to add a moss style flocking for the chimney and the roof line. Let's grab some clear type glue, the moss style flock, and some Q-tips. We're also going to use a slightly folded piece of paper and a full sheet of paper to set under the roof. And we'll show you what that's for. But first, let's add a generous portion of gel type glue to the roof line and to both sides of the roof. Grab a Q-tip and let's push the glue around. Now that that's done, let's grab our moss flock and sprinkle it generously over the glue. Wow, right? Instant change. Now you're going to take the piece, flip it over, tap the piece so the excess flock falls onto the sheet of paper. Now transfer the excess flock into the folded piece of paper. Let's do another round of glue. This time let's use the backside of a T-push pin to push the glue into place. That looks good. Now let's grab our flock and pour it over the glue once again. This piece is looking really good. Also, let's add flock around the upper roof vent. So take your glue and a Q-tip, spread it around, and let's add some flock. Alright, so let's get ready to do the chimney. And it's the same process really. We're going to just add glue, spread it around, and then add the flock. And there we go. It looks great. This really takes takes the cottages to the next level. The moss growing up the chimney and the roof and the vines, it's just amazing. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and add moss to the doorways, to the walls, and to the foundation. Doesn't that just bring a smile to your face when you see that? It's so fantasy. Okay, we're almost there. So let's go around the foundation, up the chimney, and we'll also do the walls. And now that we're done with the foundation, let's go back and let's put a little bit of flock on the base of the door. When designing the cottages, we wanted to design them in such a way that the folks living in them appeared to always be trying to push back the forest from taking over. It's part of the Corrupted Forest campaign, so you can see how that plays in. And now we're going to go ahead and add glue to the walls. I'm also going to use the tip of the glue bottle to push glue into place and not necessarily work with the Q-tip. You can use the Q-tip or the T-push pin if you'd like. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that to the rest of the walls. And also, just as a reminder, you can actually put glue on the windows and have the moss growing up the windows. That always looks really neat. Let's take a look at that now. Okay, so we made it. We're pretty much done. Now that the glue has had time to dry, what we're going to do, we're going to take a nice wide brush and make sure it's very dry. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and basically dust any excess flock off the roof, the chimney, the walls, and the foundation. And then we're done. Let's take a look around the unit We'll go around it from an upper perspective, looking down on it from the gaming table. And then we'll also do it from maybe a NPC or a miniature view. Let's take the roof off and spin it around and look at how the vines are going up into the roof, the moss. Look inside and we'll take a look at how the wooden floors turned out. They turned out amazing, having that nice range of browns, and even the wash in the corner really added to the floor. And there you got a little flower box, which is part of the package. And we have some tall cabinets and short cabinets. We got the swinging door, fireplace, and we also have a little bed that's in there. So let's take a look. Let's pull the walls off and look at the foundation. It looks very, very good. Check out that floor. Isn't that amazing? Turned out so good. And let's go ahead and put a couple walls in so we can take a look at it from get that Jericho wall style effect going on. And also, why don't we just have a full look around the whole unit with the walls on. Yeah, that moss and those vines, wow, amazing. Also the wash, really, when we first put on the yellow, it's kind of striking, right? And once we put the wash in, it really gave it that, like this cottage has been here for a very long time. Don't forget to paint the door handle inside and out. And we use Tarnished Steel 9206 from Reaper Minis. Well, we hope you found this video informative. And if you like what we're doing here, make sure you hit that thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Also, head over to our website and subscribe to our website newsletter to be notified when we do Kickstarters and new products. And also, we give away a limited time downloads. So be sure to do that. Thanks for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, welcome to the family. We wish you good fortune in the adventures to come.